A year from your Italian wedding is a really significant moment, and there's very specific things you need to be doing at this point. In this episode, I'm going to take you through exactly what I do with my clients. Ciao, I'm Lucy. I'm an Italian wedding planner and the founder of Lista.com. It is my mission to help couples planning their Italian weddings have a really nice time doing so. I want to give you access to accurate and transparent information so that you can have the very best time planning your Italian wedding and obviously the most epic wedding. So stay with me to the end on this one. It's quite a long one, and at the end I'm going to give you really actionable tips. But first I'm just going to talk about the timings of how you plan overall. So obviously people get married on all sorts of different timescales. I plan my own Italian wedding in 9 months, but the average time that I see people plan and enjoy planning on this timescale is around 18 months to 2 years. So ideally, if you want loads of choice of suppliers, you want their availability, you want to lock in good prices, and you want to have a calm and kind of low pressure time planning, this is a really good timescale to work to. It's also really important to know that Italian wedding planning is really seasonal. So in the wedding season between May and September, most suppliers are unable to actually work on future weddings. They are working on delivering weddings, and because they're often very small businesses, they just don't have the resource to be planning ahead. So in my planning business, when we are in wedding season, we scale back our work on future weddings that are in the years to come. All our clients know this is how we work before they book with us, but that just means that when we're in wedding season, we're able to focus on delivering the weddings. That is primarily how most businesses work. So if you bear that in mind, it means that you've actually only got these windows to plan that are in the winter. So if you imagine your wedding is in July 2025 and you get to July 2024 and you haven't got your major things booked for your wedding, you're going to have to wait most likely until the October or November of that year to start things moving again. And that's actually only 6 or 7 months from your wedding. That's getting quite tight in terms of planning, and it just means that those suppliers might be getting quite booked up. Your dates might not be available with some of the suppliers. The prices may have risen in the period that you've waited to book suppliers. And generally, I've noticed that couples tend to get a little bit stressed if they get this close to their wedding and things aren't booked. So what I always recommend is that a year out from your wedding, you have all of your suppliers booked. Now, when I say booked, I want a contract in place for the big ones. So venue, catering, photographer, musicians, hair and makeup. I think they should all be booked before that wedding season, prior to your wedding season starts. There are other suppliers that may not even take the bookings yet. Florists, transport, tents maybe, they will probably not issue a contract until the winter before your wedding, but you should be in their diaries. Your wedding should be firmly in their diary. If they will let you kind of book without a deposit or a contract, you should be in there so that you know you've got your suppliers held, and then as soon as you get to that winter period, you're able to properly book them in. Quite often in the La Lista Facebook group and in other ways that we hear from couples, we understand that some planners don't work to this timeline and it can make couples quite anxious. Planners, we completely trust you. You are the experts and you know what works for your style of planning and your clients. But couples, it is on you to know this before you book the planner. Make sure you're asking planners what timelines they will work to. If you know that you're going to want everything booked and you need to work ahead of time, then you need to find a planner that will work to this timescale. This should be communicated with you. It should be in a contract even. You should know that you're getting the right type of planner for you. There can be reasons why things slip. So you may aim to have all of the things booked before the season starts, prior to your wedding. But if you've taken a little bit longer to find the right options for your suppliers, or the suppliers have been slower to reply, it may be really challenging to actually achieve that before the wedding season. So you can aim for it, you can try and do as much as possible, but it might not always be achievable. Suppliers do still work through the wedding season. It's just the expectation needs to be managed that you are probably not going to get very quick replies at all. You may still be able to book things, you may still be able to move things along, but it may not be possible. And if your planner has it in their contract that they are not going to be working through this period, if you have taken longer to reply, if you have held up the planning in some way, then you may actually need to pick this up and carry it through the summer. That's for you to work out with your planner. Remember that you're paying your planner for the added value of their expertise, and doing things without them, I'm sure you're completely capable of doing them. But if you can get some sort of agreement, even if you are going to move some things along, that they at least sense check your plans, that they check the contracts that you're booking, everyone's aligned and everyone is clear on what is happening. So you may not want to work to this timeline that I've suggested. It's completely up to you. It's your wedding. You may have a completely different way of working with your planner. all good. The main thing to know is that there is no rush. Even when you're working to a shorter time period and things feel a little bit more pressured, you should never be pressured into booking a supplier. The worst thing you can do is book the wrong supplier because you rushed or you didn't think you had options available. You always have options available. There are so many suppliers out there. You've got to balance how you make the right decision. And the very best thing you can do is just get some quotes. If you reach out to suppliers, you'll quickly understand how urgent the decision making is, how popular they are, and how quickly you're going to have to decide what to make a move on. And you can reprioritize the order in which you book things based on that information that you've got back. Okay, so now there's some really specific things you can do a year out from your wedding. So if you are working to this timeline, if you've got all of the major suppliers booked, these are 4 things that you need to do a year out. One is get your save the dates or your invites out. The reason I say or invites is because there's a kind of middle ground with Italian wedding planning. Usually I'd say a year out, you want to be going out with some sort of kind of more robust save the date. It may have an early RSVP on. It will probably talk about rooms, and you might have a version A or a version B that goes to guests that are staying at the venue and guests that are off site. You may also have a wedding website. So this quieter period where you've got everything booked, your planner's probably working on delivering weddings, your suppliers have gone a bit quiet, focus on these comms and get them really right and really good, because the best thing you can do in Italian wedding planning is look after your guests and give them the best communications that you can. Number 2 is you've got to go dress shopping. This is the time to go and find your dress. Number 3 is you can start thinking about a trip. You can get over to Italy the coming winter, go and do your food tasting, see your venue again, meet any suppliers that you need to. You can start to play around with dates, find out if your suppliers are available for them and get that penciled in. And number 4 is you can start thinking about decor. Now, I'm not saying put together a whole mood board or anything like that, but there'll be loads of weddings happening in the wedding season, and it's a really good idea to just watch them, see what's out there, see what you like, see what you don't like, just gather some inspiration ready for when you come round to the winter and you probably start getting really into the details of your wedding decorations. So everything I've talked about here, I've got in so much more detail in my ultimate tracker spreadsheet. This is a step-by-step, every single step you need to go through to plan an Italian wedding in priority order and listed over time. It's invaluable to Italian wedding planning, and it has loads of other tabs in this spreadsheet as well that help guide you through planning, and they'll save you hours and hours and hours of faffing around and trying to make your own versions. This is available in the Lista shop, and we will link it below. And don't forget, there's loads more advice like this in much more detail in my membership, the club. Thanks for being here today. I'll see you in the next episode.